Do you think Ukraine is moving in the right direction in terms of reforms?
Ukraine is moving in the right direction, and what is important is that Ukraine is really moving. It's not stagnating, it's not moving backwards, it's a movement forward. For some Ukrainians, obviously, the pace of it could be subject of criticism. One could have hoped, perhaps, without understanding how complex this movement forward is, that it could have been quicker and everything would have been more tangible right away after the revolution. And we would have all hoped for that to be true. But at the same time, reform of that scale of a country who had problems at an endemic level, especially in the field of corruption as well, would have been unrealistic to imagine for that to be as quick as a popular level we would have hoped for.
What are the main obstacles to reforms in Ukraine?
There are a number of obstacles, and the least of that is Russia, if you ask me. Sometimes war with Russia is cited as an obstacle for more profound reforms in different fields, but at the same time, aggression from the side of Russia and then ongoing military activities from the side of Russia in Ukraine is consolidating public in Ukraine, and then is consolidating the spirit of Ukrainian people to be resilient to the challenges. Reforms that are needed for transformation of a country, especially in the field of economy, in the field of gas sector, they are painful. They are not easy for people to sustain. Now, ordinary citizens in Ukraine have to pay much higher prices for the gas, but it's essential for the country to be profoundly free from corruption schemes in that field, as the report as well of Chatham House assesses, for example, and then to move forward with the clear vision how in the market economy system could be and should be arranged without any possibilities for improper influences from political field or corruption schemes for that matter. But in the short term, they are painful, and people have to sustain that. So in that regard, obstacle more is a long and inherited, I would say, disbelief and disillusionment that change is possible, which is still stuck in some layers of the society. And I don't blame society for that. Troubles that they have experienced for so long in the living environment is the cause for them to have that disbelief that any profound change is possible. But at the same time, inherent mobilization of the society, which is pushing political elite for more and more changes, is essential. And in that regard, that synergy still need to be found, so that collaboration of the society with the political infrastructure and then the state institutions becomes a foundation for more profound changes in the future.
How can the West best help Ukraine?
I believe that international community has learned quite a bit of the lessons from neighboring countries as well, in the way how assistance could have been provided to the country that is in need of that assistance, which needs political assistance as well to sustain aggression of a kind that Ukraine is sustaining right now from the side of Russia. And what can be said very firmly is that there is a very strong commitment from major strategic partners of Ukraine, including European Union, if not primarily even from the side of the European Union, to stay with Ukraine, to assist profoundly in terms of systemic changes, of transformation of Ukraine, and by that to help Ukraine to build sustainable future, which is based on the values that are profoundly common for the Europe and for European Union, values that are common for Ukraine as well by being part of that European family. And in that regard, systemic changes of assisting Ukraine in building state institutions that are delivering on their promise to electorate, to the population, to the taxpayers is essential, so that the trust is developed based on the actions. First wave of legislative changes and then some of the institutional changes is already gone in some spheres in Ukraine. Now it's the time, obviously, for more and more institutional developments of the kind that is already felt profoundly by the people when it comes to the services that the state delivers to them. creating an environment for conducive environment for development of the small and medium-sized businesses is essential for any country for their sustainable development, and this is obviously relevant for Ukraine as well. Here, efforts from the international community, particularly from the European Union as well, in helping Ukraine to achieve greater success in the area of decentralization, in the area of creating strong rule of law system in the country, in helping Ukraine to utilize better, more and more with time, the good opportunities that are created by the DCFTA, Deep and Comprehensive Free Trade Agreement with Europe, so that Ukraine has access for external market of a kind that Europe is providing now in the free way for Ukraine is extremely important. And rule of law in that regard, I would stress, maybe it's my background that speaks here, but it's profoundly important as a foundation for creating trust within the country, for the citizens and businesses, and for external investors as well, that is important for the development of the country.